wasallam admonished against being unmindful of the religious sentiments of others. Do not exalt me above Moses, he declared. This is despite the fact that the Holy Quran declares him superior to all prophets. Such were the high standards of decency and courtesy which the Holy Prophet ﷺ required of his followers, even in the throes of a heated theological debate. The Charter of Freedom, which he granted to the monks of St. Catherine's Monastery, Mount Sinai, in 628, that is the 60th year after Hijrah, is perhaps the best illustration of the Holy Prophet's desire for interreligious peace. This monumental document is unprecedented in the history of mankind. It states, "This is a document which Muhammad, son of Abdullah, God's prophet, warner, and bearer of glad tidings, has caused to be written, so that there should remain no excuse for those coming after. I have caused this document to be written for the Christians of the East and the West, for those who live near and for those of distant lands, for those Christians who are living presently and for those who will come after, for those Christians who are known to us and for those as well who we do not know. Any Muslim violating or distorting what has been ordained will be considered to be violating God's covenant and will be transgressing against his promise, and by doing so will incur God's wrath, be he a monarch or an ordinary subject. I promise that any monk or wayfarer who will seek my help in the mountains, in forests, deserts or habitations, or in places of worship, I will repel his enemies with my friends and helpers, with all my relatives, and with all those who profess to follow me. And I will defend them because they are my covenant. And I will defend the covenanted against the persecution, injury, and embarrassment of their enemies in lieu of the poll tax they have promised to pay. If they prefer to defend their properties and persons themselves, they will be allowed to do so and will not be put to any inconvenience on that account. No bishop will be expelled from his bishopric, no monk from his monastery, no priest from his place of worship, and no pilgrim will be detained in his pilgrimage. None of their churches or other places of worship will be desolated or destroyed or demolished. No material from their churches will be used to build mosques or other houses for the Muslims. Any Muslim doing so will be regarded as recalcitrant to God and his prophet. Monks and bishops will be subject to no poll tax or indemnity, whether they live in the forest or in the rivers, in the east or in the west, in the north or in the south. I give them my word of honor. They are my promise and covenant and will enjoy perfect immunity from all sorts of inconveniences. Every help shall be given to them in the repair of their churches. They shall be absolved of wearing arms. They shall be protected by the Muslims. Let this document not be disobeyed till Judgment Day. Signed, Muhammad, the Messenger of God." This important historical document affirms the Holy Prophet's sincerity and leaves no room for doubting his disposition to peace. In the establishment of social peace also, the example of the Holy Prophet ﷺ stands aloft as a beacon to illuminate the path to lasting harmony. His teachings provide conditions of peace for all those who would heed his admonitions, neighbors and wayfarers, rich and poor, young and old, men and women. Before the advent of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, women in Arabia were deprived of their rights and distributed as inheritance. By recognizing the social status of women and their rightful place in society as mothers and wives, and by securing their rights in inheritance, in divorce, in the guardianship of children, in the management of the affairs of the family, and in worship, the Holy Prophet ﷺ established peace in the family on a firm basis. The momentous address which the Holy Prophet ﷺ delivered shortly before his demise, after the performance of what has come to be known as a farewell pilgrimage, is an epitome of the entire spirit and teachings of Islam. In the course of his address, he had this to say: "O men, what I say to you, you must hear and remember. All Muslims are as brethren to one another. All of you are equal. All men, whatever nation or tribe they may belong to, or whatever station in life they may hold, are equal. Even as the fingers of two hands are equal, you are all human beings, equal to each other. No one has any right, any superiority to claim over another. You are as brothers."
Nare Takbir! Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa, Hazrat Khatamul-Anbiya, Khidmat-e-Insaniyat, Nare Takbir.
O men, your God is one and your ancestor is one. An Arab possesses no superiority over a non-Arab, nor does a non-Arab over an Arab. A white man is in no way superior to a black, nor for that matter is a black man better than a white, but only to the extent to which he discharges his duty to God and man. The most honored amongst you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous among you. Even as this month is sacred, this land inviolate, and this day holy, so as God made the life, property, and honor of every man sacred. To take any man's life or property, or to attack his honor, is as unjust and wrong as to violate the sacredness of this day, this month, and this territory. What I command you today is not only meant for today, it is meant for all times. You are expected to remember it and to act upon it until you leave this world and go to the next to meet your Maker. What I have said to you should communicate to the ends of the earth. Perchance, those who have not heard me might benefit by it more than those who have heard. This sermon is an eternal charter of peace for all mankind. It shows how deep was the Holy Prophet's concern for the welfare of man and the peace of the world. Peace depends on justice, and economic progress depends on peace. In one of his recent addresses, this was the most pertinent advice offered to the world by Hazrat Amir Mu'mineen Ayyadahullah Ta'ala bin Nasrihil Aziz. Economic justice is a beautiful slogan, common to both capitalism and socialism. Unfortunately, however, both have failed to do full justice to this golden principle, as economic exploitation and unfair practices continue to widen the gap between the rich and the poor. In the domain of economic peace also, the teachings of the Holy Prophet ﷺ provide an invaluable source of guidance for us. He took steps to remove the vast disparities of wealth and poverty necessary for the establishment of economic peace. He enjoined the distribution of inheritance among all heirs, parents, children, widows, brothers and sisters, so that no one has the power to bequeath the whole of his property to any one person and thereby promote the accumulation of wealth. He also recognized in principle the rights of the poor and the wealth of the rich, and through the institution of zakat, he provided for the discharge of all those rights which the poor have and the wealth of the rich, and thus bring about reconciliation between the haves and the have-nots. The concept of interest has played havoc with the economic peace of many households, institutions, and even governments. In his historic address at the United Kingdom Houses of Parliament, Hazrat Amir Mu'mineen made the following comment. A major issue today is the economic crisis of what has been termed the credit crunch,